Teo has it basically right. Um, so two discussions. Shalom, by the way. I should probably put it into the chat in case people want to join. So two discussions on Friday. Honestly, Friday I wasn't really up for a lot of discussion and streaming, but I did briefly join Paul Vanderklay's discussion because I think it's an important discussion. But the reaction to what I had to say was pretty, pretty much what I expected. Good morning, Tayo. And I mean, it has a lot to do with how Christians are having to deal with actually paying attention to the Hebrew Bible. And then afterwards, I had a Just Chatting stream, and frankly, Matthew came on, and it is an issue that he is very, very exercised about. I was prepared for that. And frankly, I didn't know how to deal with it. He made a video afterwards, which he then deleted, so I don't know how much to talk about that. But I wanted to respond to his video. I considered responding to his video because I think it's an important topic regarding predestination and works righteousness and free will and all that stuff. Although I have to say, to some extent, I don't want to talk about free will versus predestination because I think that it's well, Happy, what do you want? I don't know why Happy's decided. You know what? I think I am going to go get Happy some food. I will be back. I assumed she was hungry. I knew her food bowl was empty, but I didn't think she was hungry. She's sniffing at it. I don't hear any chewing. Don't know what to tell you. So, I mean, if people want to discuss, we can discuss. If people don't want to discuss, we don't have to discuss. The Senate stuff is actually pretty interesting. Andrew, go to bed.
How's it going, Jacob?
I'm good.
Okay, that's good.
How are you?
It's going. You know. Yep. So, why do you care about this in the first place?
That's actually it's funny. I am typing a response to somebody about Synod as we speak, and my response was, "I'm not a Christian. It's not my church. Not going to join. Not going to hate on it." Although I guess I kind of have been hating on it, but. Garth says, "Hey, hello! It's the past bedtime stream. That's when I do these streams. It's for the people who should be in bed but aren't. I deliberately I'm actually part of what I'm doing is I'm doing my training for the Trevor Project chat line, and guess what? Their busiest times are in the middle of the night because guess what? That's when people who aren't having the best of times in the world are most active, actually. And there's a reasoning for that. There is an actual reason for that. Garth! Meaning Wave. You have a Meaning Wave shirt. Where'd you get a Meaning Wave shirt?
Well, I bought it online. Just from his merch store.
Obviously, machinists make too much money.
I mean, I blame the millennials for that because nowadays it's all the millennials want to do is just tech stuff. It's like machining. You kidding me? No way they're going to do that. And all the old people who used to do it are dying. So it's like, supply and demand for machinists.
Hey, I am a huge fan of technical skills. Technical skills as in hands-on technical skills.
Yeah.
And if I were my 18-year-old self again, I would go to school to become either a contractor or some sort of tradesman. I would never go back to college. I would not go to college.
Yeah, I mean that's honestly pretty much my path. I went to college, flunked out, and then instead I'm like, hey, I'm just gonna do I just wanted to do something where it was labor but still required some thinking that could make decent money.
I'm surprised you flunked out.
It wasn't it was not a material thing. It was I just kind of had lost perspective and motivation.
Yeah, and part of what's bad about our colleges today is they don't flunk people for being incapable of doing the work, which is what they should. They flunk people for being unmotivated. It's turned from the masculine way of viewing flunking and succeeding to the feminine way.
I should say that it's I definitely deserved to get flunked because of what I was doing at the time.
So, which was not doing your classwork.
Yeah, not doing the classwork.
Yeah, that's the only way to fail is to not try.
Oh yeah.
It's the feminine model. The feminine model is I will encourage you and I will laud you anytime you show effort and improvement, and I will only castigate you for not trying. whereas the masculine model is, I don't care how hard you try, either you do or you don't. And if you are competent, then I don't care how hard you had to try. And if you're incompetent, I don't care how hard you had to try. And in fact, people who study how boys versus girls, perform in school, boys do the absolute minimum in order to get an A.
Oh,
Girls, even though they're getting A's, will do extra credit work, will do all kinds of things to go above and beyond to show that they're trying. And it's like, there is a reason why co-ed, like educating boys and girls in the same schools, is a huge mistake. There is no question. The scientific evidence is just so clear that it is a huge mistake, that it has become increasingly common in Los Angeles for parents to put their kids in single-sex education, despite the fact that it's absolutely against everything that, left-wing dogma say. Like, at some point, you have to bow down to the science, and the science is incredibly clear that both boys and girls do much better in single-sex education than they do in co-educational facilities.
I cannot say that I've read the science, but I will say that it probably would not surprise me if that was the case.
So did you buy a ring?
No. Well, so basically, like at this point, what we've been talking about together is that, if we're going to continue this, we can't just keep doing this long distance. Like, eventually, like, a move has got to be made. Not necessarily marriage, but just like, we need something to spend more time together. So we're kind of entertaining the idea of she would come up to Minnesota, stay with some relatives, and still like get a teaching job up here. And then at the same time, we can also spend in-person time together. Because that's really what we need at this point. So.
How old are you?
I'm 29.
How old is she?
33.
That's not a lot of time to have kids.
I know. So I'm...
And 4 is the minimum.
Oh man, I came from a terrible family because we barely didn't make the minimum.
4 is the minimum. If you're not going to have 4 kids, I don't know why you bother.
No, but yeah, but I'm doing what I can. Okay, so I have a question for you. So you know the story of the fall and how God curses, when they eat from the apple and then they hide.
Yes.
And then Teo, how's it going?
Yo.
I love that
How's it
background.
going, man?
Holy cow.
Is that
super cool.
Warhammer? Is that the Warhammer for 40K?
No, I don't think so.
No.
I think
Like there's the angel, but then there's the mech next to it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
I love that game, man. It's amazing.
I don't love that game, but I know lots of people do. And that is a mech behind him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. There it is.
Oh
Yeah.
man, I could make an Evangelion joke because it's literally mechs fighting against angels.
Neon Genesis.
Yeah, that's what it is. But okay. So, but basically, how you have the fall and God curses the serpent, God curses Eve, God curses Adam, and God curses the earth. Now, apparently, there's this thing within Judaism that there is a total of 39 curses. That there were 10 curses on the serpent, 10 to Adam, 10 to Eve, and 9 for the earth.
I had not heard this, but it does not surprise me.
Okay, I just wanted to ask if you knew anything about this. Because I had heard about this, I was like, I wonder where this comes from.
39 curses.
I tried looking up stuff for this, and I couldn't find anything.
I mean, the number 39 is so. What I often point to Christians is where Paul mentions being lashed 40 minus 1.
Okay.
And that is, in fact, like a thing. The number 39 has particular significance, especially in relation to creation. But I mean, I haven't heard this particular thing. And Google's not helping me much. Let me see if Safari. Let's see. Lamed text. There's
There, I see something where it's the 39 forbidden laws of Shabbat.
Yeah, that's different. Although it's related, but that's different.
Right.
So 0 search results. I don't know. Hello, Dirt Dog. Wow, that's a blast from the past. His picture is Boss Hog. I am going to mute you, Andrew, and you can unmute yourself when you want to talk, and there aren't people behind you. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Let's see. Let's go to, this would be in Genesis 3. Let's go. Let's see. There are 51 midrashes on verse 3:14. Let's see what, if any of these seem to say anything about 39.
I see there is a rabbi in the chat. I don't know if he could answer my question.
Rabbi Mullet. There you go.
No.
Hey, Rabbi Mullet. You're going to bed. If before you go to bed, if you could tell us if you've heard of a midrash saying there were 39 curses by Adam and Eve, and that would be interesting. Hello, Sterling. How are you doing, Sterling?
Hello.
This is I'm talking about 70. Shot Kostar Ella Lot. No, that's different. Yeah. What I probably should say is you should. I will look into this and get back to you. Although I'm probably gonna forget.
Oh, don't worry about it. It was just like, if you know, I was just gonna ask if you knew, if you like, and if you don't, then
These are the types of questions I recommend putting into happy behave. Rabbi Mullet says he is not aware of that offhand. And I don't know who this Glenn guy is. Truth Finder UK. Is that can't possibly be thing. But I am not an expert in Midrash. Just put something in on my in the Torah whatchamacallit, on
The
my
chat?
Discord server. Yeah. And I would, if such a midrash exists, I would expect either Chazi or Yosef to be aware of it.
Well, I'll type it later. But actually, yeah, I should. I don't know why I didn't think of that, but yeah, I could just type it in your Discord.
You could. You
So-
could indeed.
So why the name for the stream, Jacob?
It was a combination of the two things that I was thinking about in regards to the streams on Friday. The whole marriage thing. So, funny enough, I very much agreed with Anselman's response to what I said. So, this is what he wrote. Perhaps the most offensive, I would say obscene thing that was said in this conversation is that those who don't seek a spouse are murderers, and those who are single are not regarded as human beings. This adds a serious note of contempt and hatred, which might explain some of the vicious attacks upon Christ and Christians who exemplify consecrated virginity and celibacy in dedication to God. And I responded, and this is why Christians cannot face up to biblical values on marriage, because they view the biblical view of marriage as an attack on Jesus. And they do. And that's what I said on Friday. And Tripp said, I agree, I am not a fan of that language at all. Jesus and Paul both smacked the idea down quite forcefully, which, again, is a Christian misunderstanding, I would say, certainly of the things that Jesus said, because Pharisaic Judaism, unlike most other forms of Judaism that existed, well, I would say basically every other form of Judaism that existed during Second Temple period, saw that it is possible, and again, I have to say possible, for someone who is not married to still be a member of the congregation in some way, that God has purposes for such people, like Jesus quite clearly says. There are people who are castrati for the purposes of God, and this was a refutation of what the Sadducees and the Samaritans and everybody else thought, which was, if you have no children, you are completely somebody who is accursed of God. And that's the very strong lesson that you can read out of the Hebrew Bible. And Jesus, at the very least, was taking the rabbinic position that no, this isn't, while obviously the biblical teaching is that you should in fact get married, and that is of course the ideal, to be married, that it is also possible to fall short of that ideal. Whereas people who never steeped themselves in Genesis at all, who don't understand even Genesis 1, like I would say Anselman obviously doesn't, they viewed what Jesus was saying, certainly, and possibly Paul was a Gnostic. Possibly Paul was, in fact, somebody who agreed with this idea of holy celibacy. But there is no concept of holy celibacy that is congruent with the Hebrew Bible. It is that type of monasticism is very obviously condemned throughout the Hebrew Bible, starting with Genesis 1. And I think that's the reason why Christianity is, and that's exactly what I said during Paul's live stream. That's why Christianity is, now that Christians are actually reading the Old Testament, they have come to a very different view of sexuality that, and like Yosef said, sex positivity is a misunderstanding, I think, of the Jewish view. We're not like, oh, be hedonists. That's not what we mean. That, within marriage, anything is permissible. That's certainly not the Jewish view either. But we view the union of male and female to be precisely what Genesis 27
thank you.
which is a representation of godliness in the world. That's what Genesis 1:27 clearly says. So that was one of the reasons for the thing. The other was honestly the discussion with Matthew on tulip, right? Tulip Calvinism. 4 out of 5 of those deal with this horrible conception of salvation that Calvinists have. Yes, Andrew, you're supposed to slap me with knowledge because you are the Copt. And yes, I did mute you again because I don't know what's going on behind you, but
There's some beeping or something.
There's a fire alarm.
Oh, do you need to get out of the building?
That fire alarm is quite annoying and loud.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Usually it means someone burnt popcorn in the room.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it's.
I think God is saying something about the monastic life. He doesn't approve either.
How do you burn popcorn in a microwave?
Dude,
Very easily. What, you haven't burnt popcorn in a microwave? What kind of a human being are you?
Okay. Well, okay. Oh, firstly, I no longer cook it in the microwave. I cook it stovetop. And so
you're a Luddite. I see.
So, well, actually, I see. Okay, here's the thing. I much prefer it because what I can do.
Rabbi Mullet found your thing. It's Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer.
Thank you, Rabbi. Hold on. Let me
see if I have Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer here. Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer. It's not on 314, at least. Which Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer is it, Rabbi?
Looking for. Okay, so he's looking more into it.
Okay. See, that's why we have rabbis, because they know their midrash a lot better than I do.
He knows his midrash more than I do, certainly.
And here is a kitten, just in case anybody needed a kitten to brighten their day.
There you go. But to finish, why I like cooking my popcorn on the stove is that I can choose which oil I want to cook it with. And so you can typically have some type of healthier option. Also, you can control how much butter or just add whatever else you need to. Also, it's much cheaper to buy it like just a big thing of kernels rather than the individual microwave packets. You get a lot more popcorn out of it. So,
Okay.
but that's just anyway. Plus, I like doing it. I think it's fun.
And once you're married, you can make popcorn for two, or two and plus your 4 kids.
Yes. Let's see. Sorry, I'm just reading part of this midrash here. Although, you know what, I'll look at it later.
You actually found it?
Well, I just copied what he put in the comments, and then I put it into Google, and it brought me to Safaria. And so now I'm on Safaria.
Well, Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer. I mean, there's definitely, but like, if you want to read the entirety of Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer, like, that's going to be a lot of, that's not short reading. Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer.
Is it just like it's just is it 54 chapters? Is what I'm seeing.
Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer is.
That's what, at least that's what. It
Well,
looks
yeah. I mean, it says 54 chapters, but like, yeah. But my guess is that it's a lot.
Like.
Actually, it's not not
It's
as long as I thought it was.
it's a bit like,
Yeah,
but I feel
I
like
mean,
I feel like you
collections of midrashim usually are usually tend to be very long.
could,
And yes, Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer is a collection of midrash. From, what did it say? Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer is a midrash that retells and expands upon the biblical narrative traditionally ascribed to Rabbi Eliezer ben Hyrcanus, a 2nd century sage. The work was likely edited in the 8th or 9th century. Yeah, most collections of midrashim are at least post Talmudic, even though they are obviously older than most of the Talmud. The midrashim, the actual midrash themselves, are generally much older than the Talmud. The collections, they were collected after the Talmud, the Babylonian Talmud.
So I see something under here that says Gerald Friedlander, 1916.
That's probably the person who published the which version of the midrash, right? So
Okay.
collections of midrash, right? So there are collections, and then there are versions of that collection. So I'm guessing
Okay.
that's the Sterling.
Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Yep.
I got some new earbuds or whatever, so just trying them out.
You were in Costa Rica?
Colombia.
Colombia. I keep on forgetting which country you're in. I just remember it's South American.
Yeah. Which I guess Costa Rica is technically central. I've been there, but I might go back soon actually. I have a friend who wants to go there soon, so I might go there. I was actually leaning towards Bolivia next, just because it's close to where I'm at. But we'll see. I'm kind of
Bolivia is also very cheap.
This the cheapest country. It's known as the cheapest country in South America. but it's also landlocked, and I like to be near the water. And you can only visit there for 30 days as an American citizen, as opposed to a lot of places will be like 90 or 180. But I still want to go and check it out.
Mm.
But anyway, oh, I guess I'm Miss Andrew.
Andrew said he had to dash.
Okay, cool. No worries. But yeah, carry on. Sorry.
Yeah, so I mean, we were just talking about Midrashim, nothing very.
So I at some point I actually do want to sit down and read one of these midrashes.
Collections of Midrashim. Yeah, I mean, you certainly can. They're. I don't know how easy they are to understand without a better. First of all, the translations. It's very hard to translate Midrashim because they tend to be like. So Rabbi Mullet says, so apparently the Rikanti, I don't know who the Rikanti is, cites Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer, but this teaching does not appear in the version that we have. Who is Rikanti? Menachem Rikanti, who is a Rishon. Okay. Interesting. So, yeah, apparently he's a 13th century commentator on the Bible. Though it is taught in other sources such as Rekanti, Shla, Zohar Chadash, Arizal, etc. So apparently this is something that is repeated in many. Wow, the Zohar Chadash has it. It is repeated in many. All of these are very Kabbalistic sources. It is apparently not in the version of Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer that we currently have, which is interesting. But so Midrashim, because they tend to oftentimes look at variant ways of looking at the biblical text, it becomes really hard to translate them to English because what may appear obvious in the Hebrew seems absolutely inexplicable in the English. So, for example, I always bring the one thing that I bring up a lot is in Genesis. I think it's 5. Where does it talk about Enosh? We actually talked about this in the Bible study this weekend. This past week. But it says Genesis 4. Where is it? Why does I found Enosh, but I did not find the verse regarding Enosh in Genesis. Okay, so 4:26. So let me pull this up. So And Seth in turn, and to Seth in turn, was born as a son was born, and his name was Enosh. It was then that Havaya began, so that the Lord began to be invoked by name. And that's a perfectly fine translation, although I generally don't like the JPS translation. But that's a perfectly fine translation of that. Let me switch to Lemitsuda. Okay, that's a perfectly translate. Oh wow! So they actually, that's interesting. So they actually translated it very differently. So the normal translation is people started calling by the name of the Lord, right?
Mhm.
And that's a very okay translation of that verse. Now, the Jewish understanding of that is how the Matsuda actually does translate it, which is that they started calling calling idols by the name of God, which doesn't make any sense unless you understand in the Hebrew that there's basically a pun there. So this word to begin, huchal, right? It means begin. It also means profane, defile, pollute, and desecrate. And you just can't translate that to English, right? That this is one word which has both of those meanings, right? So the Jewish translation, Rabbi Mullet says, Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer, chapter 14 says, Adam, Eve, and the serpent were each accursed with 9 curses per death, altogether 30. Apparently, there was also a source that the earth was cursed with 9 curses, so altogether 39. See, this is the type of research I am incompetent to do that Rabbi Mullet is obviously capable of, while I am not.
Well, I appreciate that, Rabbi. Thank you very much. So that's where that comes from. Okay, and I'm on the chapter right now, so I will see if I can actually find the spot itself.
Yeah, so a lot of midrashim similarly, like if you don't know the Hebrew, it becomes very difficult to like understand where they get the things that they say or the symbolism that they talk about. Yes, she's not taunting you.
No, because it said and there. Yeah, because I think the average Christian interpretation is that God had cursed the serpent, Adam, Eve, and the earth, and then that was the fall. And so when I heard about this, where there's 39, or it's like, well, where do they get like these specific like values? So he says how it's like there are 9 curses plus death for each of them. Well, then what are the 9 curses specifically? Or how do you get 9? What is what is the 9?
Good question. I mean,
10.
you saw did the Pirkei Rabbi Eliezer have
Oh wait, hold on. It says the sin of Adam and Eve. So there's something here that says 10 descendants upon the earth were made by the Holy One. Blessed be he. They were once in the Garden of Eden, once the time of the generation of the dispersion, once at Sodom, once at the thorn bush, once in Egypt, once at Sinai, once at the cleft of the rock. 8 just says and twice in the tent of assembly, and then once in the future.
Yeah, I don't think that's what he's talking about.
Okay.
Oh, here, 14:5.
Wait.
He cast down Samael and his troops from the hoary places in heaven and cut off the feet of the serpent and decreed that it should cast its skin and suffer pain once in 7 years in great pain, and cursed it that it should drag itself with its belly on the ground and its food, like it's, so it looks like it's counting. Oh, there it is. But he extended to pardon to Adam as to part of the 9 curses and death. He curtailed his strength and he shortened his stature by reason of the impurity connected with issues and with pollution, as well as the impurity arising from sexual intercourse. He was to sow wheat and reap thistles, and his food was to be grass of the earth like that of the beast. And he's counting them out individually in, yeah.
He curtailed his strength. Okay. He has to earn him his food, sweat. So it's basically, from what it sounds like, is that it's basically the curses of like basically becoming human how we are now, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if you go through 5 and 6, it gives a total of 27 plus death, so that's 30, and then so it must be the Arizal or the other Kabbalists who count it out at 39. And this is where they get their count.
So I guess the Earth also had 9, but no death because it's not alive. Yeah, that does make sense. So let's see. If Adam sinned, what was the sin of the earth? That it should be cursed, because it did not speak against the evil deed. Therefore, it was cursed. For in the hour when the sons of man transgress the graver sins, God sends a plague to the sons of man. And in the hour when the sons of man transgress sins less vital, he smites the fruits of the earth, because the sins of the sons of man, as it is said, cursed is the ground for thy sake. What was this? Because he did not speak against the evil deed.
Yeah, I mean, Midrashim honestly are pretty, oftentimes pretty difficult to understand just in isolation. They are usually allegories which tie together many other teachings together, and that's why generally, like, yeah, I think getting, like, actually trying to understand Midrashim and explaining them usually requires a broad knowledge of many different things already.
Okay.
Sterling,
But
what do you want to talk about?
sorry.
Well, I just want to listen mostly. Can you hear me okay? Um, I have friends who are Christian, Jewish, Muslim. I have some friends who are Christian that I'll pick on just for the time being. And, and no, but like, it was recently actually that one of my friends, he said that, he was gonna start studying Hebrew. Oh, he's born in he's born in the States. I don't know his ethnicity and stuff. He's not Jewish or anything. So, but he was going to be studying the Hebrew language, yeah, so he could read it and get a better understanding of the text. And a few things struck me, right there. It was like, well, first of all, you currently claim to have an understanding of the text, and you don't speak Hebrew. So are you saying that you might not understand it clearly? Well, he wouldn't admit to that much. But also, like, of course, are you going to study the Greek as well? Yeah, I don't know the whole. And please, no offense, but spare me. But I understand that there's a lot of study the Greek and the Hebrew, but even if you did that, right? And this is what I told him. I said, so if I did that, right, I'm sure we would all. That means that we would all agree, right? Because the people who speak the Hebrew and understand it, the original text, they all come to a consent. Oh, but they don't though, do they? You see what I'm saying? So it's like, to me, and I hate to like scoff at it, but it was just like, I don't want to spend all that time learning a new language, which I've done before once or twice. It's tough. I don't want to do it not for that reason. It just seems like a waste of time if there's still no pot of gold under the rainbow. We're still not going to sing kumbaya and all agree on some stuff. I'm not so sure it would, even to him, he'll just be more convinced that what he said before was true. And I told him that. I'm not talking behind his back. You know what I mean? But it's just like, I don't know. That was my thoughts.
I do think that people do, in fact, change their mind because they learn things, and I don't think there's a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. I think that everyone has has those things which are important to them and that guide their life and guide how they live their life. And I think it's possible for people to improve their understanding of things. And so for me, learning Hebrew and discussing the Bible in Hebrew is how I personally think that I gain wisdom. And hopefully that's true. But if it's not, like, what other standards do I have than trying to take that understanding which I have and to improve it? Like, I can't start with a completely different understanding than I have. I have to start with the understanding that I have and improve it. And one of the things that I constantly tell people, like, I talk to Christians and Muslims and atheists and whatever, is I don't expect you to substitute my judgment for your judgment. My encouragement is for you to follow what you think is your judgment. And if you want to engage with me on what I understand, then okay, great, good, and fine. And if not, okay, that's your choice. And for me, that's the ultimate test of faith in God. If you believe in God, then you should believe that God can fight his own wars, and you don't need to fight God's wars for him. And if you feel you need to fight God's wars for him, then I don't actually think you really believe you don't believe in the monotheistic, omniscient, omnipotent God that I do.
And to clarify, again, it wasn't a shot at you in any way.
Right? No?
I was actually thinking of my friend, and he's a dear friend of mine. His name's Richard Madsen. He goes by the handle Demolish Doctrine.
Mm,
And when I was specifically saying that I'm convinced that his mind wouldn't change because he's told me, and he's engaged across YouTube for years and years and years. You can find him, Richard Madsen, Demolish Doctrine. He's debated Christians, Jewish people, people from Islam, all be alike. And he told me that he has never lost a debate. He's never been proven wrong. He always comes out on top, so to speak, not because of his own, because of his understanding of the text. See, so when he told me that he was going to learn Hebrew to get a deeper understanding of the text, I knew that it wouldn't sway his mind in any way. It would just more convince him that he is correct, and because that's what I've seen, and that's what he said, and I'm not taking a shot. I'm just telling you and actually I think he might be a good contribution in this channel. I might send him a link sometime if you don't mind. He's a heck of a
Yeah.
nice guy. He's a heck of a nice guy.
That's
But
interesting. He one of the videos he recently put up is from Khalil of EA Dawa.
I know EA Dawa, and if I'm not mistaken, EA Dawa had to shut his channel down.
Yeah, Khalil.
Okay.
He's in prison.
Yeah, well, I didn't know that, and it's none of my concern. But I do know that Richard was a regular on that channel because Richard will hit any link. Richard will debate anybody, and he's a dear friend of mine, as I've said 2 or 3 times already, and served his country, our country, in the military. He made himself homeless like by choice to evangelize. He
Really?
thought for like 3 years, I believe,
Wow.
and he was out there preaching the same message that he's preaching now on YouTube. So all I'm saying is, he's quite a unique person that you might enjoy a conversation with, and I might send him this way. And other than that, I kind of got off a topic. Other than to say, oh yeah, well then going back to it, I'm not so sure that. Well, hey, I don't want to repeat myself. You heard me already.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's possible. I personally have a belief that I think the Word of God does change people for the better. And is that something I can prove? No. It's a belief I have, not against the evidence, but I think I think that we see that the world has in fact improved through engagement with the Hebrew Scripture, and frankly, like, if somebody's interested in whether or not that's true, I think there's plenty been written that you can investigate that claim. Actually, I don't know, Sterling, did you hear about that latest interview that Dawkins did with Unheard?
I know Dawkins, but I'm not sure if I even know and heard. So the answer is no. I don't think no.
So recently, like within the last week, they Unheard. It's UNHERD. It is. I think they're explicitly Christian, but it's an interesting channel, and they had a conversation with Dawkins, and I very much lost respect for Dawkins based on things he said, including like, so they asked him whether he believes that religion improves people's lives. And he said, yes, but I don't think that's the standard. I think truth is the standard. And so I don't care.
Yeah, that's very, very typical of like atheists.
No, I actually don't think that's typical of atheists. I think most atheists think that religion actually makes the world a worse place.
Actually, well, yeah, I suppose the anti-theist atheists, I should say.
Which
Like
Dawkins is.
Right.
Yeah.
And because what is it? It's also Aaron Ra. He's pretty much in the same boat. It's like nothing matters except the truth. All we want is the truth, period, and that's it.
Well, I mean,
And so
that really, and in the literal sense, begs the question of what is truth.
right, yeah,
Like, if truth is correspondence with reality, and evolutionary fitness is a measure of correspondence with reality, which I would say that's like, as a reductive materialist, I don't see how you escape that. Then I don't see how you separate thriving from truth.
mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like you don't. It's like you're almost not. Actually, I don't know. It's like, would it be fair to say that, like, in that mode of thought, it's like you almost like aren't able to have any sort of ideal of some sort, because any ideal that you typically have is like almost an illusion of some sort to you.
Well, so it was only about a month ago that I heard Vervaeke say this, and it really struck me. He said we need to stop hammering on Hume's is ought distinction, because it doesn't go far enough. Like, Sam Harris's attempt to derive an ought from an is, I think, is silly. And that's why I was, in fact, always like, yeah, Hume's is ought distinction is important. And I hadn't ever considered Vervaeke's point, which is, how do you have wow, we really sent Rabbi Mullet down a rabbit's hole.
Dang,
So
okay.
Zohar Chadash on Ruth, paragraph 219.
Okay.
I somehow doubt that Zohar Chadash has been translated to English, and I also doubt that I am a competent person to translate the Zohar Chadash to English.
Zohar. Ruth?
Yeah.
But you know, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry, what do you want to say, Sister Sterling?
Well, I disagree that all I want is the truth. I certainly would disagree that, well, maybe that's good for me, but I don't necessarily want that for everyone. Because, like, the other day, I was entertaining a conversation with another friend on YouTube. His name's New Life.
Mm-hmm.
It's like New Life something or another. And he has a lion avatar. I've spoken with him a few times. And New Life told me, and many other people, that he is a convicted murderer. Okay? Now, he's a Christian. And and the only thing that keeps him from his murderous tendencies is his faith in Christ and his religion. I'm not kidding. I'm not joking. So, like, and my friends were like, I think even Richard might have been in that stream. We're like, okay, but like, But like what? And I'm like, hey guys, let's maybe maybe let's leave this one be. Yeah, like this is what he just told you. This is the only thing keeping him from going on a murderous spree in the streets. Let's maybe let him have it. Yeah, like, you know, like yeah.
Okay, so
Oh, is it all right if I mention something? Because
sure.
it's very funny you mentioned that, Sterling. Because I was listening to a debate between Aaron Ra and T Jump. So
I know both of them.
okay, yeah, because so T Jump actually has moved from being a anti-theist to being an atheist, but he's accepted the fact that, you know, based on the evidence that that religion does help people improve their lives and helps them become happy. And he was arguing that point. And Aaron Ra was like, you know, but you're lying to them. Like, you're not telling them the truth. And but there was a Q&A that went on, and there was one guy who came up and asked, well, it wasn't more so asked a question, but that he was this guy who had essentially, what was it? He was like a Christian, and he is a Christian still, I think, according to the individual. But then he was like, at one point he got super depressed, and I think at one point he said something like, you know, if I, like, at that moment in life, if I had stopped believing in God, like, I probably would have, like, just killed myself there and then because of how, like, painful the existential, like, you know, suffering was for it. And Aaron Ra was just like, yeah, I just don't know how to believe you on that point. Like, he just could not imagine that someone would, like, kill themselves if they stopped believing in God.
I do. I don't see why. I'm not going to speak. I didn't listen to it, but that seems to me very. I mean, for anyone who's lost a religion or lost their faith, which a lot of atheists have, like you get it. Like it was. It's not. It wasn't easy. It wasn't a joyous time. Nothing you want to write home about.
Oh, sorry, I should clarify. Sorry, I'm trying to remember this off memory. The depression was not from his loss of religion. It was from something else. But because of that tragic event, he almost lost his faith. And he feels that if he had lost his faith, that he would have killed himself. Sorry, that's what it was. My bad.
I mean, if I would have lost my faith in that moment, I would have killed myself. Yeah. All right. Well, then keep it. Keep it. Like keep it. Like keep it. Live. Like you know what I mean. Live. Oh, this is the only thing keeping me from like going on a school shooting spree. Well, keep it. Like I'm not.
Right.
Keep it. You don't have to like justify it at all. Like, bro, please, for the love of God, Allah, whoever, just keep on keeping on, my dudes. Please. Like, I'll talk. I'll have a conversation with the next guy. You know what I mean? Like,
So this is a story I tell a lot. This is a story I tell a lot, which is, well, yeah. So, yeah, Rabbi. I took a look at it. I wasn't going to translate it because, like, the preamble is a lot more complicated than this part that you quoted, but this part I can translate. Kevan Sha'avar, because he sinned, Nigla Allah HaKadosh Baruch Hu, God appeared to him, V'garshu min Gan Eden, and divorced him or threw him out of the Garden of Eden. V'gazar alav Eser Gezerot, and passed upon him 10 edicts. Val Chava Eser Gezerot, and Eve also 10 edicts. Val Nachash Eser, and the serpent 10. Val Ha'adama Tisha Gezerot, and the land 9 Gezerot, 9 edicts. Nimto Arbaim Chaser Achat, that is 40 minus 1. Keneged Arbaim Malkuot Shenit Chayav, exactly like the flogging that a rabbinic court administers to an evil person.
Okay.
Like I said, Paul and the 40 minus 1. So this story I tell often. So I used to get really excited and animated when a missionary would come to try to missionize to me, because I would pull the Hebrew out on them and I would body slam them and I would basically destroy them. And it was something I kind of reveled in. But the last time I did that, this witness, this JW, came up to me, and he had his Bible, and obviously he didn't know his Bible very well, and I just destroyed him.
Oh, you've told me this story before, or
Yeah.
or maybe you haven't told me, but I've definitely heard you.
I've told this story many times. And I saw him walk away, and he was crying. And I had obviously destroyed his faith. And I saw that, and I never did it again. Because I went, oh, I just took something really precious from this guy, and I gave him nothing to replace it with, right? And that's what I was doing the reading for the book club with Rabbi Sachs's book, and that's one of the things that he said is the people who, the atheists who take away people's faith, they don't bother thinking about, oh, well, what am I doing to this person? What am I leaving this person with? How am I making their life better or worse? They just leave them that way. Wow. Eddie, I hope you're just waking up and going to work, because Eddie lives in New York.
Oh, okay. Well, man, will that be 3:00 for him?
Yep.
So that's super late.
Or super early. He might be
he-
going to work.
He's working double, which I'm not entirely sure what that means.
Working a double shift.
It's only 3 a.m. That's my usual bedtime. Okay, so you're kind of somewhat like me then. So yeah, because Eddie, I work like a second shift as a machinist. So yeah, I get it.
I believe Eddie's still, although he's studying to become an HVAC, I believe he's still working as a doorman at a posh New York apartment.
Oh, okay. That's not a bad gig. Hey, you know what? Nowadays, New York needs really good air quality. So
He is still a doorman.
okay.
How's the HVAC going? I actually meant to ask you about the HVAC.
And it is not posh. Old money winky face.
What's the difference between posh and old money?
Yeah, I'm not sure what he means by old money.
Well, I mean, old money means people who going good. First year is almost done. Yeah, I mean, HVACs get paid nice amounts of money. Yes, Shadow, and he doesn't know the difference either. Shadow and Happy have started interacting more. No swimming pool in the building. I see. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I guess I can kind of see the difference between old money and no. Well, the thing is, like, I think if you own one of these old condos in New York, especially I think he's in Manhattan, like they can be really, really expensive. And I have
Oh,
to
yeah.
wonder if the people living there could ever afford to buy any of the apartments they live in.
It's like they have the money for it, but they don't put up the act of being posh, I guess. That's like the way I could see it. So it's like,
Could be.
well, they're wealthy, but they don't like, have the posh attitude. So hopefully that clarifies. But that's what I'm interpreting.
Posh is like young people stuff. I think you're confusing posh with bougie.
Because posh is like older, like aristocratic, like kind of attitude. That's what I think of when I think of someone who's like posh.
Okay, is Park Avenue? So I don't know New York very well. Is Park Avenue like? I know it's around Central Park, but is Central Park on Manhattan Island or not? Posh is English. If you say so. If you say so.
All of the English.
Where is Central Park? Central Park. Central Park. Is it on Manhattan Island? No, that's such. Stupid Google gave me Central Park in Los Angeles. I didn't even know we had a Central Park in Los Angeles.
New York's got competition.
Yeah, Central Park in Los Angeles.
Actually, is there one in the Twin Cities? Now I gotta look this up.
Oh, Central Park is on Manhattan Island. Well, Manhattan isn't actually an island, apparently. It's an archipelago. And Harlem's right. Like, hold on. Harlem is on Manhattan? How does this make any sense? How is Harlem between Upper Manhattan and the Upper West Side? Like, I thought Harlem was the cheap area. Hell's Kitchen is on Manhattan. How does this make any sense? I don't understand
So
New
apparently,
York at all.
St. Paul in Minnesota at one point had a Central Park, but then it got turned into a parking ramp. So there you go. We got rid of ours. We lost the Central Park battle.
I am so confused about New York now. The Bronx is right across the river from Upper Manhattan.
Actually, I gotta go. I gotta go to church tomorrow morning, so I am
Yes, you
actually
do.
gonna go to bed. So,
Go to bed. Go buy a ring.
Yep. Have a good night, Jacob. Rabbi, thank you again for your knowledge and resources, and so I much appreciate it. So now I know where the 39 curses comes from. In the well, it's not exactly is it midrash or what? Or
Well, it is.
Kabbalah?
It is the midrash, but it is. Yeah, it's. I mean, it's in the Zohar Chadash, but it is in the midrash. Like, yeah, Kabbalistic stuff and midrashim often go hand in hand. So.
Okay, they're like different sets of texts, but they're kind of seen as the same thing.
Kind of.
Kind of.
All
right,
Okay,
well,
yeah, Taylor's
start-
going off to.
Yeah, sorry, Sterling. I'm actually just about to leave. So, but it was nice to see you.
Good night, Garth. Central Park is in Manhattan, not actually really related to Park Avenue. How can Park Avenue not be? I thought Park Avenue was like, I'm confused. Half of Central Park is in Harlem. Harlem is the new expensive spot. There is no cheap part in New York City. Even like I thought Brooklyn wasn't that expensive. Can't believe I derailed you guys. You definitely derailed us because I am still trying to figure out. So where is Brooklyn?
Brooklyn's over the bridge from Manhattan, right? And it's
Over
Brook,
which bridge?
I guess the Brooklyn.
Mm,
But anyway, it's expensive. It's not, none of it. None of it's cheap. Yeah, ain't none of it cheap. Brooklyn, Staten Island, Long Island, Manhattan, the Bronx, all those. None of it's cheap. And
interesting.
yeah, but Harlem, I think, was historically black, so I could totally understand how there might be real estate there to take advantage of.
Mm.
To gentrify.
Well, apparently now it's very expensive.
I have no doubt. It doesn't surprise me. Everything's expensive, and like that's one area where like I feel like corporations have taken over our life in the United States for the worse. And for a long time, though, you could still own. No, that was part of the American dream, where you could own your own home, and not so much anymore. Whether it's due to student loan debt or interest rates or whatever it is.
It's actually land. I would actually say it's land use restrictions. If if yeah, there's a lot of political corruption involved in the price of real estate. Peter Thiel has been talking a lot about this, and I think it's very
Well,
important to talk about.
Well, yeah, but like previously, yeah, it was difficult to buy land, but the people owned the land, the people owned the houses. But now corporations like BlackRock and Blackstone are getting into it where they're buying up all the houses, and I think they want us to be perpetual renters. And once the corporations own the houses, we ain't never getting them back.
Yeah, I mean, there's several things going on there. I think partially, yeah, the corporations and the fact that there is no such thing as estate taxes on corporations. I actually think we need to start having intergenerational taxes because we need to have skipping taxes on corporations. That's a whole other thing, or possibly 99-year lifetimes for corporations. But the reason so much real estate money is going in, so much capital is going from corporations is going into real estate, is because there are a lot of boomer voters who vote for laws which favor real estate owners. And so it's politically advantageous for capital to be in real estate. And I studied this, and it was very depressing when I was in law school. There are land use and various real estate laws are all very, very effed up. And the only way to fix it is to force a lot of people who own a lot of real estate to take huge hits, which they aren't willing to. And real estate developers, real estate companies, and individuals who own real estate, which tend to be senior citizens, all vote for bad policies which make real estate increasingly expensive, including land use regulations, um, historical preservation laws, tax things for real estate. Yeah, and the fact that capital gains get taxed lower than earned income is just insane. There's no reason why passive income should be taxed at a lower rate than earned income.
I think that you're probably right. You probably say more than I have. I think it's pretty simple. I think that it's just an avenue where they haven't slithered their way into, that they found their way. They have the stranglehold on the food that we eat, the restaurants we get that food at. They have a stranglehold on the transportation system. They have a stranglehold on the medical system, big pharma. They have a stranglehold on the prison system, military, the politics, this, that, and the other. But by and large, up until now, they didn't own the homes. They didn't.
Yeah.
But they're gonna. They might have provided the loans that allowed the people, and the loans might have been predatory. Yeah. But the people at the end of the day own the homes. Boomers and Gen Z, Gen X, and millennials, less and less and less as you go down the line. But I think that in the future, it's beneficial to them to not let us own, because owning gives you power, financial power, and renting doesn't. And so, yeah, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I was not actually aware that Thomas Sowell was on page with me with capital gains, because he's one of those economists who's very laissez-faire, and I am not. Actually, Sterling, you might be interested in the things that Mark Blythe has to say. He's a professor at Brown University, and he's a very interesting person as an economist. I don't agree with everything he says, but he says a lot of interesting things, and he's a very smart guy. Speaking of all this smart stuff, how's your school stuff going? Sowell called Obama an idiot for it. I could believe it. My school stuff, I mean, it's going. I wish it was possible to do it more quickly, but I guess it's not. So I'm just trying to get it done. And next quarter, which is in 8 weeks, so 2 months, I am going to start actually doing my field work, which is actual work, and hopefully it'll be good and interesting stuff. We'll see what happens. Yeah, I mean, the school stuff, half of it, I have to be okay, this is the bullshit that I have to pretend I believe in order to get my degree. And some of it is actually not completely worthless. I'm actually kind of excited. I'm doing training to work at it on Trevor's chat thing, and we'll see how that goes. There are things which I have learned which I think are useful, which it's nice for things to actually be useful.
Yeah, I think about going back to school. It's just I don't want to be back in debt. You know what I mean? If I could get some sort of degree that I was passionate about, without being 6 digits in debt, I might do it, because I don't think you're ever too old. I'm getting older, but I don't think you're ever too old to learn a new trick or whatever. But man, like, do I want to go to, like, for example, law school? I thought about that for whatever reason, and but
Don't.
I don't want to be in that sort of debt. Like I've done that before, and I crawled my way out of it, and I just I don't know. Which is
Honest,
what is good. Good.
honestly, if you, for anybody who's thinking of school, my recommendation would be first and foremost to look at a trade school or a profession that you want to actually work in and get a job somewhere in the field so you see what kind of work is being actually done, and then consider if you need the degree or not.
And I thought about what I want to do. Like, maybe you can call it a midlife crisis or whatever. But like, I was like, I'm not even sure I need another career. I retired last year, and I'm like, oh, what's next? And I was just strictly thinking about what I'm passionate about. I thought I maybe could be like a public defender. I know it's kind of crazy, but like, I thought I maybe, but like, you got to go into such debt, and I'm not afraid of school and the hard work. I'm not afraid of that. But to be in debt is, and again, oh man, I just don't know if I want to go through that.
So, I mean, first of all, it depends where you want. I mean, I don't know what the laws are like in Colombia as far as becoming a lawyer or something, but and if you are thinking of the United States, at least in California, there supposedly is a way, although I don't know too many people who do it, that you can work your way to being a lawyer instead of going to law school, which I actually think makes a lot more sense. But there's such a glut of attorneys, and yeah, I do not recommend law school honestly to anybody. I went. I don't recommend it. I think it was one
I
of my
didn't know
biggest
that.
mistakes. Yeah.
Really, I didn't know that. Cool. Yeah, I don't know, but man, um, I lost my train of thought.
Well, it's good thing it's a train of thought because then you can just follow the rails. It's hard
Indeed,
to lose a train.
indeed. Um,
How are things going in life in general?
in general, not too bad. I've been challenging myself and my friends around me with various things. One of them is silly to most. It might seem silly to you, but I found this show just like the same way I found yours and many others, including the Pineapple Show, Melly Monaco's channel here on YouTube, and she has 600,000 subscribers.
Oh,
And I randomly found searching open panels and live on StreamYard on YouTube. I found her panel several months ago, and anyway, it turns out to be a speed dating show.
oh,
So she'll bring up a friend 2 or 3 times a week, and they're gorgeous, usually brown or black women, and they might be an Instagram model or an R&B artist or various things, a fitness instructor, who knows. And the guys can come up and hit the link one at a time and try to shoot their shot, as they call it. Yeah. And it's like, hey, look, it's been I did it, right?
okay.
And faced rejection and got a good laugh. I showed all my friends. I said, "Hey, look, watch me get rejected up here. Watch this shit. Watch this. Watch me crash and burn." Yeah, had a good time, and everybody had a good laugh. And then but then I flexed on them. I said, "Yeah, okay. Well, guess what? She does this 2 or 3 times a week, and if you think that was funny, let's see what you got,
Mm.
right? Let's see you do it." And so. And then I've watched them scatter like little cockroaches when you turn the light on. You know what I mean? Yeah, oh, I've got a girlfriend, and oh, I'm not interested in brown what this and that. And it's silly, kind of silly, but like you really have nothing to lose, even though there's like 2,000 people watching live at a given time, and they'll roast you. They're gonna make.
Well,
Go ahead.
okay. I have to say, social opprobrium, like people roasting you and stuff, that's not nothing. Like, like we care what other people think of us, but like what I don't like about these supposed dating things is generally I think the people who are like the women who go on there, they're not. Have I shown you this picture? Here, let me show you this picture. Have I shown this picture?
No, I'm not sure what I'm looking at.
Okay, so the woman is a lingerie model. She's
Uh-huh.
like a famous lingerie model who's asexual supposedly,
Sure.
and it's like, I'm sorry, like asexual lingerie model, like no, you're not an asexual lingerie model.
I'm not.
You're
I'm
just
sorry. I'm not. I don't know how this ties together. Bring it home for me.
I think she's just a tease. That's what.
Okay. Yeah. And hey, okay, now I understand where you're. I think I see where you're going. But we don't. Me and my friends. I challenge my friends not to let that perturb you.
That was Jacob's
Right.
crush for like a month. Ed says.
This is a challenge, and it's easy to find an excuse to get out of it. The challenge is to hit that link, go up there, give it your best shot. I don't want to hear she's not your type. I don't
No,
want to
it's
hear.
not a matter if she's not your type. She's a tease. If
No,
she's
no,
a
no.
tease, there's
But
no
no,
shot.
I'm not talking to you. I'm not saying this
Yeah.
to you direct. But I'll talk to you now. I don't want to hear that she's a tease. I don't want to hear. Like hit the link, give it your best shot. Don't be afraid of rejection, and let's see who's a man. And to me, what started as a joke
Yeah.
kind of is fun, and I think it's a social experiment that I've been doing. And so far, I think like at least 5 of my friends have done it, and at least 50 have chosen not to.
Yeah. Well, no,
And
I mean, honestly, I think this is the type of encouragement that men have given each other forever, and it's a good thing because men need that type of encouragement in order to even try, because rejection hurts a lot,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
And but
But it gets easier. It gets easier as you get rejected. And I want my friends to be strong. I want the ones around me to be fearless. And I want them to say, hey, go up there, you can get rejected, and then come back over here and let's all laugh at your stupid ass. And the strong men will do it. And they'll come back and laugh at themselves. And my friend Orlo Amadeus, his channel, this is where it's all happening. He went up and bombed his first time. The second time, he went up and bombed. And the third time, he went up and he's like, so can I hit you up on Instagram? And she was like, sure. And he got out of there and came back, and we were all like, yeah! We all went crazy. We were all like, yeah! You know what I mean? But like, I don't know, man. It's just a little social experiment that might seem trivial to a lot of people, but I beg you not to dismiss it.
I do not think it's trivial at all.
Okay, all right. Well, then you get it. I wasn't. And again, I was talking in the chat, and whoever's listening, it's not that trivial. And anyone who makes it seem to be is that person I'm talking about that is not going to hit the link. You know what I mean? Not you. But it's just been fun. I've been up to that, and I've been on some true crime channels. Like I co-hosted a true crime channel about a week ago, and what else? Yeah, just living life, just having a good time.
You are living life. Like these are two of the most primal instincts that human people have. Like the desire to find someone, to find a mate, and also like true crime. Like it goes to our sense of security and our sense of like propriety, and so yeah, these I think are two of the biggest motivating factors human beings have.
Yeah, I've been doing that more so than arguing with people on the internet about theology and any of that. You know what I mean? So I've been trying to. Yeah,
I
I think
commend
it's-
you for it.
Yeah.
I think this is the type of embodiment. I mean,
Yeah.
anybody.
I'm here to issue you the challenge because I think you're strong, and you have nothing. And listen, you have nothing to lose. You like only rejection, which is a lot. But I don't think you're the type of guy who's afraid of that. The name of her
No.
channel, the name of her channel is Melly Monica. It's called you could Google or you could YouTube the Pineapple Show. She's got 600,000 subscribers. She goes live 2 or 3 times a week with different girls every episode.
Mm,
And and I encourage you, Jacob. How do you say that last name?
Faturecci.
Fatarecci. Fatarecci. I challenge you to hit that link. Give it your best shot. Who cares if you're interested? Who cares if she do it? Just try it. Put yourself out there. And get rejected the same way I did and all my friends did, which by the way, on my third episode, I didn't get rejected.
Really?
Just saying, I can roll the footage, but we don't have time. And then my other friend, Orlo Amadeus, on his third attempt, he didn't get rejected either. He got permission.
Really?
Yeah, but then like I'd say about 6 or 7 of our friends get rejected every time, and some of them go in and tell jokes, and some of them play characters. But like I gave it my best shot, and I failed. I failed a couple times.
Well,
But
what do you
then
mean you didn't get rejected? Like you didn't actually go out on a date with her?
Well, no, but like, okay, so like, so these girls could be across like, I'm in South America. These girls are somewhere in the United States. So the
Okay.
key, the only way you can win, get the dub in this instance is you chat back and forth. She asks you questions. You're on the hot seat. She's on the hot seat. And then once it's kind of the dust has settled, you say, okay, so can I slide your DMs or can I hit you up on Instagram? That's it. And then like and then she's like, yeah, sure, or no, or whatever. And you know what I mean? And that's it. Like whatever happens after that is off the show, off the camera. You know what I mean?
Honestly, I mean, this sounds like it might be a little bit less threatening because that's all there is to it. It's like it's still internet.
But here's the difference. When you go up to that girl and I don't know, maybe it is, maybe it's not, but I've gotten at girls in all different scenarios. I've been rejected in all of them and succeeded in all of them. So at the coffee shop, the girl in front of me, I'm like, hey, what do you get? What do you order? You know, and that is a lot of pressure too. But then pulling up on a girl on StreamYard, you would think it might be easier, but then you look and she's got 1.4 thousand people watching live. The
Right.
video the next day is going to have 19,000 views on it. And
Right.
you're going to get this Instagram model live in front of everybody. Trust me, it ain't easy. But if you let go of all that fear and that
Yeah.
betanness, if you feel it, if you taste that rejection over and over, it gets easier. And I challenge my friends to do it because I want to be friends with people who are strong and fearless. And so the challenge has been issued. Next time she's live, and if you're live, I'm gonna send it to you in the chat or
Okay.
whatever. But good to talk to you, man.
Okay, it was good talking to you, Sterling.
Cheers.
I like this challenge. I do. I actually think it's worthwhile. I mean, I don't think it's worthwhile as an actual exercise because I don't think it's an exercise of actually asking someone out. But I think it's worthwhile as a mock exercise. Because it's hard. It's hard, and I think it's an interesting thing to watch because we learn by modeling. We learn through mimesis, as Rene Girard says, and this is embodied. It's I actually like it. I like it a lot. I think it's a good thing to do. I mean, it would be better if it was more realistic, as in there was a possibility of somehow mm, Yeah, it would be good if people actually were dating. That would be good. Okay. Seems like everybody's going to sleep. I should probably go to sleep as well. Good night, dear world.